Yeah, I
You
don't
know?
know one parent in the world that doesn't want to be the best parent they can for their child. And we're all going to fuck it up at some point,
Yeah.
probably a lot of times. But you're really going to screw it up if you don't believe you need to learn about the nuances of your own family. And,
Mhm.
everything we've talked about today points to one truth: adoption doesn't end at placement.
Oh, no.
Welcome to the Adoption Roadmap Podcast, your go-to guide through the beautiful, complex, and transformative journey of adoption. I'm Rebecca Greenspan, a single mom through adoption consultant for over a decade, author of the Adoption Roadmap book, and your trusted guide. In each episode, we dive into real experiences, expert insights, and the raw, honest truths that you will need to navigate your journey. Whether you're just beginning, in the thick of it, or well past placement, you'll find support and community here to help you navigate this unique path with confidence and love. Adoption isn't all rainbows and butterflies. It is life-changing and worth every bit of effort. Let's learn, grow, and journey together on the Adoption Roadmap Podcast. For those of you watching the podcast, you might notice a little costume change that we made because we're fancy like that.
Yeah.
And we just thought,
We gotta
costume
mix it up.
change, we got to mix things up.
Mix it
So
up.
here we are again. When you're single moms, working sometimes multiple jobs, parenting teenagers, you just need to take a little break.
You sure
You don't
do.
always have all the time in the world. You need a costume change.
Indeed.
So
In fact, life is like that. You need costume changes.
you need a costume change.
I think that life requires costume changes. In fact, I believe that I have a different color lipstick today as well.
My hair is different. Anyway.
My hair is different too. A little wave here, a little unkempt, as I would say. Anyway.
Yeah, I'll say welcome back, even though for our viewers and our listeners, they've been here the whole time. Before we jump in to the next question, I do want to give a shout out to my listeners and the people who have taken some time to leave a review. And I'll just leave you on screen for this. I'm going to read one from Amy Ritchie SF. First of all, thank you so much. She says, best podcast for learning. I'm a hopeful single mother, apropos,
Yay.
a few years out from actually adopting, and wanted to acquaint myself with the various processes as well as all of the minute details. Becca and her guests offer precisely this in a way planned out and jovial yet realistic fashion. So not only is she talking about single mamas, she's talking about my great guests and our fashion. And how jovial we are. I love this girl, Amy Ritchie. And then she says, thank you for your dedication to the collective adoption community.
Aww.
Thank you, Amy Ritchie SF. And I just, for those of you listening, I want you to know how much it means to me to read these.
Yeah.
Not only for me, but you're paying it forward.
Mm-hmm.
And the more reviews and the more comments like this that I receive, the more Apple Podcast will push this out.
Yeah.
But for wherever you're listening, if you don't mind taking 30 seconds, it does mean the world to me. So
do it.
Do it. Kerry,
Becca,
in your experience, how can connection with other adoptive parents ease the loneliness or isolation that we sometimes feel, especially during tougher parenting seasons? Do you know anything about that?
It's funny. I never had any tough parenting seasons
Yeah.
at all. Let me see if I can give a hypothetical.
Okay, please.
I have a teenager. It's hard. I don't like it. Teenage girl on top of that. Yeah. How many parents out there, just curious, have a teenage daughter? They're a single parent, potentially getting close to entering menopause. What a combo.
What a And then you throw transracial on top of that.
Yes.
And
2 jobs.
open
And,
adoption. And as we record this, it's nearing Mother's Day. Mother's Day what?
yeah. The
Give us
comment
a
I
talk
got
about Mother's Day.
the comment I got for Mother's Day is, why isn't there a Kids Day? And I said, listen, Princess Pants, every day is Kids Day.
I almost spit out my coffee.
Every day. Yeah, especially for adoption, I really think there's nothing more important than having people who understand what you are trying to learn to do as a parent. Any additional things that come up as a result of being an adoptive parent. I mean, the fact of the matter is you just can't ask parents who aren't adoptive parents how to be an adoptive parent. So you must have a resource. Now, I personally think that you do a magnificent service for the adoption community, all of the triad. But if people can't or don't access those kind of services or offerings or websites, or, in our case, there are a lot of opportunities for the work that you do. There are a lot of ways people can connect. I can't imagine how you do it without. I mean, God willing, they have a friend or a counselor or someone who can help them through it. And that's not to say that it's, always laborious and horrendous. It's just that, like, when those questions come up or those challenges that happen that are adoption related, or as we were talking about the other night in our webinar, or you're not sure if it's adoption related, like, it's nice to have people to talk to who get it. Or even just like willing to listen to say, like, that just sounds like a teenage daughter to me. You know what I mean? Like, validate your curiosity if this is something. And I don't know how you feel. What I think I go through a lot is I feel like you never really know if it's something more than what it is. And I think, at least for me, I guess I'll just speak from my experience as an adoptive parent, it's always in the back of your head. Like, does this have to do with it? Am I missing something? I always worry I'm missing a critical, like, sign or an indication of something. And did I miss a sign that I needed to address something and I didn't? That is always lingering, right? It's like, and maybe, I feel like you have it with Trey. I feel like you guys, I don't know. I just feel like, like you have a good handle on it, or at least it appears so. I don't know if with, like, teenage girl, it's
I'm
like
giving
hard.
her a look right now, like, really?
I don't know.
Glad you think so. How things appear is wonderful.
Yes.
So, well, I think,
I don't know.
You touched on it before, like, especially as adoptive parents, we all grapple with, and we were on a, Kerry called it a webinar, a Zoom meeting, whatever it was, with a bunch of other adoptive parents the other night, which we'll talk about in a minute. But across the board, everybody struggles with, is this just parenting? Is this just the developmental stage that they're in? Does adoption have anything to do with it? And that's what we grapple with every single thing in parenting, every milestone, every question we have, unless it's overtly in your face adoption related.
Yeah, like labeled coming out as,
or exactly. Like a question about a birth family or whatever.
Yeah.
You don't know.
No.
You don't know.
No. And I think
no matter how many books you read, and you should read the books, because sometimes it makes it clearer.
That's right.
Or at least you can think, oh, this could be related to.
That's right. Yeah.
XYZ.
And I think part of it too is, you don't want to miss the cues, because you want to provide whatever resources or support that they need. And you don't want to miss that it's related to that, for fear it gets shoved down. You know what I mean? Like, so, and we talked about it on the call. Like, it's just like sort of the joke about teenage, like a teenage girl, like, is this normal adolescent stuff? Or do I have something, pardon me, do I have something that I'm looking at that I don't recognize as an issue? I do a lot, like my sisters. It's funny because my sisters have raised 6 boys between the two of them. And when Grace was born, my pediatrician, who was the pediatrician of all of our children, all 3 of our kids, said, like, your sisters are not going to help you with this because they raise boys and you're raising a girl. And it's a whole different ball of wax. But I do consult my sisters often because their children are, almost all of them are out of college. We have 2 more left. And so they're pretty well baked, if you will.
Yeah. I mean, just like parents need other parents.
Yeah.
Black families need other Black families. Biracial families need other biracial families. Yeah. Adoptive families need other adoptive families.
Yeah.
You just do. It's the nature of anything in life. You need to be surrounded by people who get you.
Yeah.
And this is no different. No. So it does ease the loneliness or isolation that you might feel.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Were there ever times that you felt totally stuck, like where you didn't know where to turn for help? Before we go on, I'm going to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere. We have so much more to cover. Listen up, Roadmap fans. Do you have a transracial family? Maybe you've struggled to find the right products for your child's hair and skin. You're not alone. But listen, I found your solution. If you're anything like me and care about clean, natural products without harsh chemicals, you've got to check out Sweet Peach Tree. It was founded by a white mom with a Black daughter who gets it. They've created safe, effective products made for melanin-rich skin and textured hair, but it's not just for them. It's for the entire family. Head to sweetpeachtree.com and use code ROADMAP10 for 10% off your first order. Sweetpeachtree.com. Use the code ROADMAP10 for 10% off your first order. Sweet Peach Tree, made with your family in mind. For times that you felt totally stuck, like where you didn't know where to turn for help?
It's funny. I think some of the challenges with, I guess now that I say that, I kind of knew. I think part of it going into, I guess I'll just speak for us, going into it as a single mom and going into what we had pursued, like I had pursued fertility first. So knowing I was going to go into parenting in any way, shape, or form as an individual alone, I had done so much homework and research and books and joined groups and we went, back in the day, we went in person and met with each other, you know what I mean? Like, often. And then even after the baby's born, we were meeting with the kids and talking about all those challenges. So I felt like I had I felt like I had done a lot of homework and felt, I guess remotely knowledgeable and also had wonderful resources. But I think there are times where, and I think, transparently, there were times that you would have a question that you were almost like embarrassed to ask, like in the transracial adoptive world, like doing her hair and being like, well, I did this. Is that okay? Or, she wants to I remember when Grace wanted to straighten her hair, and it was just like, oh my God, there was so much weight to that. Like, I was just like, her school is fairly diverse. I wouldn't say it's like, I grew up in Evanston, Illinois, which is a healthily diverse area. Where we live now, it's a little bit, it's diverse, but it's more like different cultures. And so I didn't have a lot of girlfriends who lived here that I went to school with. And so I didn't feel like I had resources to be like, and I probably called one of my girlfriends and asked them, but I didn't feel like I had a place to go like, can we talk about the straightening of the hair? Like I had a hair salon that we went that I trusted them and loved them and talked to them about it. But but there were a lot of questions that I had that I really needed to talk to somebody about, like, how I felt about it. Like I was worried about it, her straightening her hair and, touching that beautiful hair, and then what that meant for her culturally, that she wanted to straighten it. And then my worry about, like, had I not done enough to talk about her culture because now she wants to straighten her beautiful curly hair, and it just goes on and on. So I think having resources either online or human beings, preferably, to talk to, there were times that I was just like, I felt like I didn't have enough, or I guess maybe it was even just not having the feeling like I had the ultimate answer about what were the decisions I made the right ones for her,
Yeah, it's almost like you need to hear things 3 times to believe it.
Yeah.
And so it's not just about going to one person, right? You need to hear
sure.
what other people have done and get there. I remember a time, and also I'll go back and say it has to be people and a community that you trust.
Oh, for sure.
Aren't gonna like
Judge you.
jump on you or judge you if you ask something quote unquote wrong. There's nothing wrong if you had that question. And I say this because when my son was entering kindergarten, we lived in a very diverse community, and the school district offered 2-way immersion, Spanish immersion. My son is Mexican. Do you remember this?
Oh, yeah.
And I lived in probably like the best neighborhood school in the district, right? It had everything that you wanted. It had the resources, it had diversity, it had all of it. And it was a fucking lottery to get in it. And my son's Mexican, being raised by a white mom, like, there's got to be exceptions somewhere. But no, there's no exceptions. And we didn't get it in the lottery. He starts kindergarten. And for some reason, they had spots, and they opened another lottery for a second chance. And I literally called with tears in my eyes, crying to the frickin' elementary school saying, this is my situation. This would really benefit my son. There has to be some exceptions. And what they offered me was, well, what if we could get you into that Spanish immersion class, but in a different school within the district? And that school happened to be the quote unquote worst school in the district.
Oh, I don't remember
with the
that
lowest test scores. And, it was, So everybody has that in their district, right? And it's always in the most socioeconomically diverse area, right? Where there's more people that have needs, right? And that's what makes it's what always happens. And I learned a great lesson. I went to the adoption community, the transracial adoption community. And I asked my question that I was really struggling with.
Yeah.
And I got beat down by all the judgment. And I left that community afterwards. I never said another thing. And I would never wish that upon anyone. Don't go into a community that you see people on there judging other people and ask a question. Don't do it, because you can't trust those people to have your back and to really support you.
Yeah. Wow.
Why are you even asking this question? You know what you should do. I'm like, if I knew what I should do, why am I asking the question?
Right.
I was really struggling.
Yeah.
I ultimately did move him. And it was the best decision I made for many reasons. But I also learned you can't trust test scores of a district to determine whether or not that's going to be a good school. It doesn't mean it's a bad school. It means it's the most socioeconomically diverse. And we got it was interesting, and this is an aside, but when everybody else, this was when the whole Black Lives Matter movement started, and every other school in the district was having a lot of issues with racial upheaval and problems in the school with the kids. Our school was not, because it was the most racially diverse. and we weren't having the same issues that
Wow.
all these other schools were having. And that's just a little example, but you can never tell. You
Yeah.
can never tell. You have to go and you have to talk to people
Oh,
at
for
that
sure.
school and
Mm.
find out their experiences. So I was so glad I did it. And I had to switch schools again when we moved. And it was the same type of scenario. And I had no problems
Mm.
switching because, like, I knew in my head, just because it's the lowest test scores
Yeah.
doesn't mean anything. You'll
Yeah.
probably get a more socially well rounded experience. And
Mm-hmm.
sure enough, it was the best move we made. But just going back to having a community that you can really trust will really take your questions and treat it with respect.
Yeah, yeah. And a little bit of kid gloves, it's just like
Mhm.
you don't know what you don't know. You
Mhm.
entered into these situations if depending on what your situation. I mean, there are a lot of variations of adoptive families and a lot of variations of situations, a million of them, right? Like everything is so unique and every family is so unique and every family that needed to make a birth plan for whatever their reasons are unique. But it's so critical to be able to speak openly and I think, and truthfully, without it, I would argue, and yours is a good example of, without being able to do that, one, you could end up making a decision that may not be the best for your child unknowingly, right? And two, you're never going to have been able to sort of speak your truth about your concerns and why you're concerned about it, and have someone who you can trust to gently redirect you if you're wrong. You know what I mean? Like it, um ultimately, it's obviously, as a parent, it's your decision what you decide to do about a decision that you're weighing, but it's just nice when someone can say, like, it's okay to straighten her hair. It's all right. You talk to her
Yeah.
about it, make sure she understands, and
Mhm.
I mean, I talked to Grace about her hair since she was a baby, so, um, and she loves her hair both ways, which is nice. She's grown into someone who wears her hair curly and wears her hair straight, and, um, and, and is comfortable with both of her hairstyles, which is nice.
For sure.
Um, but so I just think it's just critical to have a place where you can ask questions, and sometimes your questions aren't even asked, the right way, because you don't even know how to frame
Yeah.
things. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Or you say
Um,
the wrong thing
or
that
you do
isn't
say the wrong
very,
thing. Yeah.
yeah, adoption friendly, and
Mhm.
you learn, and that's how you learn. There are so many topics that everybody deals with, but are very prevalent in the
Yeah.
adoption
Yeah.
community: mental health,
Oh, yeah.
identity, race, substance exposure, birth family connections. They're
Mhm.
hard to talk about and they're awkward and you feel weird
Yeah.
asking them.
Yeah.
But how important
Yeah.
is it to lean into those tough
Oh, for sure.
conversations?
Yeah.
You cannot avoid them. I mean, I always joke, if people like were a fly on the wall in my office and heard me like just throwing out, are they black? Are they white? Are they Hispanic? Well, what race is this baby? Well, does the mom use drugs? Does the like,
Yeah.
and I don't ask with any judgment. I'm just like, I need to know these things.
It needs
These are
facts.
important topics
Yeah. Yeah.
within our
Yeah.
our community.
Yeah.
And, you know, it- we shouldn't avoid them because they're tough.
Yeah.
We just
And
need the right
ultimately,
spaces.
yeah, and ultimately, it's funny, while we're talking about this, I'm just thinking, like, and the most beautiful thing about all of those challenges, and about what we're talking about, and resources and finding answers, is that it's ultimately about, like, just adoring your child and wanting the very best you can possibly give to your child in their life experience, and, like, wanting, you know every single thing that you do and every decision you make to lead them to a happy, healthy life where they're giving back to the universe, and they're loved by a whole lot of people, and they have a wonderful life, because someday we won't be here. And especially for those of us who started real late, I think about it all the time, like, just about the foundation I'm laying for her, and what I'm doing to all the things I say to her all the time. Like, I know you're super annoyed, but trust me, I'm doing this because someday I'm not going to be here to do this. And I want you to learn these things now, you know? Um, so the beautiful thing about it is just that we're really trying so hard to raise good people.
Yeah, I
You
don't
know?
know one parent in the world that doesn't want to be the best parent they can for their child. And we're all going to fuck it up at some point,
Yeah.
probably a lot of times. But you're really going to screw it up if you don't believe you need to learn about the nuances of your own family. And,
Mhm.
everything we've talked about today points to one truth. Adoption doesn't end at placement.
Oh,
It
no.
it evolves, it stretches us, it asks us to keep growing alongside
Yeah.
our kids.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's why we created something new, something we wish we had for us
Yeah.
years ago. So,
Yeah.
Kerry, can you tell our listeners about the Adoption Continuum
Mhm.
membership that we
Yes.
have built, what it is, why we built it,
Yeah.
and how people can be
Oh,
part of
I'm so excited. And it's just like one of the highlights of the work that I've done in my life, seriously. And so I'm so excited that you and I had an opportunity to build it together.
it?
It's, well, as we've talked about, those resources are critical. And we created a space for any parent in the adoption universe that is raising a child from right after you have become an adoptive parent. So 0 to I guess even to adulthood, right? We've had some members who have 20 some year olds, so there really is no limit. And we created an online community that we structured. It's funny, we had a call this week, and the structure will evolve. I can tell you that now, because based on some of the feedback we received, we have evolution to do already through our beta process, through our beta test. But it is an online community for adoptive families. And it is what we just talked about is so critical to have, which is a safe space to talk to other adoptive families about the joys and the challenges of raising adoptive children and being an adoptive family. And it's currently structured to have a whole bunch of different sort of ways to engage. One, we have started to, we're having some events where we're going to do things like this, where we're on a call and we have a topic that we offer up, and we're going to have Zoom calls with folks. And we will be bringing in professionals to talk about specific topics. It could be about transracial adoption. It could be about hair. It could be about challenging mental issues. It could be about raising a teenager in, any topic you can think about as a parent and an adoptive parent as that lens. We'll have topics, experts, and we'll even host, calls where it's just us talking about things like we're doing sort of right now, where there's a topic that came up on the community and we realize it's something that, many people sort of want to talk about live. Second, it's structured by sort of age groups. And this was a learning we had this week, where we sort of kept it to infant, toddler, grade school, middle school, high school. And it's funny, anybody who's a parent knows there are so many places in between those core development areas. But we learned that we probably need to break those down a little bit further. But right now, that's the way it's structured. And the idea is that we're providing information on both the general developmental expectations of a child through their growth path, and then adding on to that some things that you may consider developmentally maybe related to adoption. And so trying to sort of sort out for families what, so I'm raising a teenage girl. What is the normal sort of expectation of raising a teenager? The eye rolls and the stomping around the house and the attitude and all those fun things that are happening. And then the other things that you may, and we really offer it up in a way that we hope is, palpable, is what may be related to adoption are the following additional topics that you might want to consider or look into that may be the additional layer on top of this age group that your child is in. So there's information on the age group, developmental things that are happening in that age range, and then resources. So online resources, websites we have in our personal experience gone to and learned from. books, which we always talk about because, there's always a fantastic book that can help you through a phase or a situation or a challenge. And then in addition to that, Becca has such a fantastic community that she's built over the course of her career in this industry, that there are folks that are just experts in a million different areas of adoption, from therapists to, folks that have expertise in, children that have IEPs or ADHD or transracial, like doing your transracial daughter's hair. You name the topic, Becca probably knows someone who is an expert in that area. And so those folks are going to be resources on our website as well, who will not only contribute to the community online and just sort of give opinions and sort of talk to folks, but also will probably feature in meeting, groups that we have and Zooms that we host for folks on specific topics. Lastly, the other thing I will mention is that also this is kind of user led as well. So if I'm in there and talking about my daughter and I'm questioning whether, the eye roll every hour on the hour has to do with that, or if she's like super angry that we don't live close to her birth mom, I can go in there and start a thread and a topic and, try to see if there are other folks that are in my same situation who want to sort of talk about it. And truthfully, you can either, sit in line and talk about it online, or I can even propose, like, does anybody want to get on a call about this and talk about it like live? Because I need a deep dive on this topic and I want a resource to use to do that. So this is the place that we've built. And it's absolutely a work in progress. We're beta testing it right now. We've already learned a lot just in the first few weeks of having it open. It is not open to the public yet, but it will be in June. And we're so excited to offer this to the adoption community. And Becca and I are constantly evolving as human beings, and certainly in things that we're building and things that we're doing as it relates connection to the adoption community. So feedback is always welcome. We're going to continue to develop this and make it a resource that really works for people who need this resource. We want it to be that safe place that we were just talking about, where you can ask those questions. You can find, a ear to, someone to listen to your challenges and give you feedback. So hopefully I didn't miss a topic that's in there, Becca. I probably missed something.
I think you covered everything. The only thing I was going to say is we are recording this in May. And like you said, we'll be doing our founders launch. So we did our beta launch with just my community to get some feedback and to continue building it for people. But now we're going to do a founders launch. And the founders launch is really the first iteration of, like, if you get in now, you would be in it at the lowest price it will ever be, because it's just going to be a short window at our opening founders price. You'll be able to keep that cost that it's going to be. Also, you are really still going to be able to help shape this community and be the kind of leaders of the community as the years go and as we continue to build. The community will be as good as the members in it make it. It's also on the Circle app. That is the platform that we are using. It's both an app on your phone and web-based. It's really easy to navigate. We got some great feedback on that. And just our name, the Adoption Continuum. That's what it is. We are continuing this journey together as parents in community, and we really want you there. So right now in May 2025, if you want to get on our wait list to make sure you don't miss the announcements of the Founders Launch, please look at any of our social media. In our bio will be a link to get on our wait list, or if you're listening to this after June, there'll be a link to either join if we're open. We're going to launch it a couple times a year, 2 to 4 times a year probably, but there'll always be a link in the bio either to get on the wait list or to become a member. So I hope that you'll join us if you are already an adoptive parent. And if you're not yet an adoptive parent, keep listening, because this podcast is for you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Kerry. I'm so excited about what we've built, about our friendship, about our continued conversations. But before you go, I got some rapid fires. So,
okay. Oh boy.
Some of these you did in your very first episode, which we'll also link. If you're a single mama through adoption or a hopeful single mama, you got to go back and listen to Kerry's episode. It was one of the very first, but
am I still number one is the question.
I think you are. I think you're the highest rated. Give a shout out to one person or organization that's influenced your adoption journey or, your journey so far.
Do you not count? Do you count or do you not?
I guess I count.
Oh my God. Well, you're a critical part of that. I would say, you and Faith Donahue are the two people that I think of. You, because you led, the way for me in the adoption universe, because we were both in a different place before we decided to pursue adoption. And so you were just a magnificent resource for me. And I'll never forget sitting in my house with a yellow legal pad, taking all these notes, trying to get all the information I could out of your brain before deciding to pursue adoption. So thank you for that. And then Faith Donahue, she is a Chicago therapist, and she was my home study caseworker, and just she was just magnificent, and I still talk to her today when I interact in these situations, and she was just a wonderful person to sort of start my journey with as well.
What's one piece of advice you'd like to share with adoptive parents or hopeful adoptive parents?
Oh gosh. I'm getting like choked up. It's just one of the most amazing ways to become a parent, and it's just a huge blessing. And you got me. God, I don't know where that came from. So I would say it's a magnificent blessing, and it's an amazing way to become a parent. It's just a magical experience. And if you're lucky enough like me to have fantastic birth parents who you are still in contact with, it's just a wonderful way to become a parent, and best thing that ever happened to me.
What's one thing you wish every adoptive parent knew before they brought their child home?
Oh gosh. You are enough.
Describe adoption in 3 words, and we'll see if it's the same 3 words you used the first time.
A miracle, a blessing, miracle and blessing, those closely related. A miracle and a blessing, and amazing.
Adoption is not just a destination. It's a journey filled with love, resilience, and growth. Wherever you are on this roadmap, trust in your path, stay open to learning, and always lead with your heart. You already have everything you need to create a beautiful story for your family. And when the road takes unexpected detours, I'm here to help you navigate every turn along the adoption roadmap. Thank you so much, Kerry.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Adoption Roadmap podcast. If you did, I have a few favors to ask of you. First, please hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. And while you're at it, I'd love to hear your takeaways. Please write a review and let me know what you liked. And if you have a question or a suggestion on what you'd like to hear, I'd love to hear that too. Please shoot me an email at support@rgadoptionconsulting.com and let me know what you'd like to hear about. And if you have a question, I may just answer it online. Thanks again for listening. Tune in every Wednesday and Friday morning for a brand new episode of the Adoption Roadmap podcast. Until next time, bye-bye.